Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. We are on a special day of Madhvacharya's appearance. This is also Ram Vijaya. Um, So I'll just chant a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhvacharya stana aila yanhar tattvavati. Udupite Krishna deki tahan hoila pramod madi. Shri Chaitanya next arrived at Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as the Tattvavadis reside. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad in ecstasy. So this is Chaitanya Charitamrita 9-245. I won't read the purport, but this is where you can, Prabhupada writes extensively about Madhvacharya. So that can be your special take home, your homework for today. You can read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, the middle pastimes, and that's chapter 9, text number 245. There are so many wonderful lectures you can find about Madhvacharya by Amarendra. There's a nice one by Mukunda Prabhu. So we are coming from the Madhvacharya line. So he appeared in the somewhere between the 12th and 13th century. And as each lineage, so lineage is just like one example, or like we have ropes in a well. These are like different ways we can get out of the darkness of material existence. And so you have these four sampradayas, four authorized lineages that are coming down from Sri Krishna. And so the first one that we know of is Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So this is coming from Brahma down to Madhva, and then the Gaudiya is a Chaitanya Vaishnavism. And so Prabhupada, he quotes Madhvacharya throughout his literature. And also quotes Vijaya-tirtha, his prominent disciples as well. So whenever there is a discussion on Vedanta, basically three acharyas in India, whenever there's like a discussion in Vedanta, three acharyas are going to be mentioned, three philosophies are going to be mentioned, and that is of Shankara, who was the first main commentator or kind of presenter of Vedanta, Shankaracharya, the founder of Advaita Vedanta, or as we understand is Mayavad, because it's a philosophy that everything is Maya. Then you have Ramanuja, who came as, because Shankaracharya is so prominent, Ramanuja is a special personality who came from the line of Sri Vaishnava Lakshmi, and he presented a refutation. And Madhvacharya is actually understood to be incarnation of three personalities. So you have Hanuman, Vayu, and Bhima. Very powerful, very potent, very spirited personalities. He's also understood as an incarnation of Madhavi Gopi. So these Madhva, he's presenting very counter to Shankaracharya's philosophy. This world is Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. This world is false. And his philosophy is no, this world is real. Everything is, there are five differences between, there are five panchabhed, five differences that are factual. So a little bit about Madhvacharya. So he comes from a line of Bhagavatas. So this was a tradition called Bhagavatas, and they were Vishnu Shiva worshippers. They would worship Vishnu kind of, and Shiva in the kind of same platform, but more of like a theistic view, in contrary to the kind of Advaitic line that was around. And let's see, then where do we go? see my notes 1 second. So our lineage is very fortunate. For example, if you're in the Advaita line, the authorized biography, Shankara Vijay, the authorized biography of Shankaracharya came out hundreds of years later. And there's many historical inaccuracies that you can find. But Madhvacharya, to understand the life of Madhvacharya, it's basically eyewitness accounts, similar to the biographies of Lord Chaitanya, which are done by the notes of Raghunath Das Goswami and others. They're eyewitness accounts. So Madhvacharya's his biography is called Madhva Vijay, and basically this is from his leading disciple Narayan Pandit, his father was also a leading disciple. His father's name is, I don't have it here. Okay, so he was born right outside of Udupi, Pakaja in the southwestern part of India near the Arabian Sea. He was part of a Brahmana community called the Shivali Brahmana community. There are Bhagavatas, and there are two main temples that they would worship at, Ananteshwar temple and Chandramaleshwar temple. And so his parents were going there for worship. His father was named as Madhya Geha Bhatta, or also known as Narayan Bhatta. And they're having a hard time having children. And his father actually the parents did a fast where they drank just a little bit of milk a day for a year, praying for a child. And then one day they were at one of those two temples, and someone got up on top of the Dwajastamba. They got on top of the flag pole, and someone was pronouncing, "There will be a great soul born in this village. There will be a great soul born in this village. This soul will come to reestablish Dharma." And he had this special intuition that this would actually be his son. And so he had a son named Vasudev, and he was very, very special right from the start. You find like some of these great souls like Srila Prabhupada, very, very special. And he was performing miracles and all kinds of wonderful things at a very young age. He started his studies. Basically, he received his thread ceremony. The thread ceremony is when you're considered qualified to study Vedas. You'll find in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it talks about actually 3 levels of initiation, or 3 births, actually. So the second birth is when you become qualified to study. And then after that, there is the full initiation where you actually are considered qualified to perform the performance of yajna. So he began his studies at 5. Usually the Brahmin thread, this is when you're considered qualified to study the Vedas, this is later. And so he had a Protam Nilai, this is his teacher. And at the very beginning, he was seeing this child. He's so restless. He's kind of like Hanuman, just like a monkey, playing all over the place, just completely restless. And he said, "You've not learned anything. You're just not paying attention." And he says, I'm paid attention. And then he started reciting the entire Veda that the teacher was explaining. He started to recite it forward, and then he started to recite it backwards, and then he started to recite it in various formations. I think we've discussed before the ways that people would remember Vedas were like not just backwards and forwards, but they would actually in crazy formations of just memorizing every single syllable. And he was, wow, he was very surprised. He would disagree with his teacher. Everybody was basically under Shankaracharya's sway, which means when they were talking about the unity of God between the soul in this world or souls, that would be highlighted. But the difference between the soul and God would be obscured, and that would be covered over. And so he would sometimes disagree. Let's see, some miracles in his childhood. What do we have here? Oh yeah, so one time he was attacked um, by a snake when he was a little baby, and he kicked the snake, and the snake was like flew and was like splattered against a rock. Um, Another time, when he was really young, his father um, had borrowed some oxen from a moneylender, trying to uh, or it was oxen, I guess, or it might have been cows. I think it was oxen. Basically, you use their help to till fields or basically perform some work, and then he was going to pay the man back. And the man was there asking for money, and his father didn't have any. And so the son, the little boy's son, um, Vasudev, this is Madhvacharya's childhood name, he came up to him and he had some tamarind seeds that he found near the tree that was near the home. And he came to the man and he said, "I'll pay you, I'll pay you." And then he put the seeds in the man's hand, and he did it with such love and affection that the man said, "Okay, thank you very much." And he put it in his bag, and he went off. And as he was leaving, he was walking, and then all of a sudden he felt his bag heavier. It sounds maybe similar to Krishna's with the fruit vendor. And then he looks, and then those seeds actually turn into gold coins. They're golden seeds. Um, the son, he was telling the father that he wanted to actually defeat the teachings of Shankaracharya, which are so contrary to bhakti, because uh, there's no conception of a personal God that you should love. There is no, the Shankaracharya's philosophy is you are God. There is no God to love. And so young Madhvacharya, young Vasudeva, he was saying, telling his father, "I want to refute this." And he said, that's crazy. That's like that's like he had, and the boy had a little stick in his hand. If you want to refute Shankaracharya, then turn that stick into a tree. It was like already a dead stick, you know. And Madhvacharya broke the stick and he stuck it in the ground, and then those two sticks grew into trees. That's another kind of miraculous. And so his father, seeing that he's becoming very much serious about his spiritual life, he was okay. I need to begin the arrangements for his marriage. His son was like, "No, I'm going to take sannyas," and he actually ended up running away and going to a school. And then when he returned, he told his father, "I'm going to take sannyas." And his father was so distraught. There was like a threat of uh, ending. He threatened to end his life and suicide himself. And the son said, "Well, I'm still going to take sannyas." And the father was pleading. He said, "Okay, first you have another son. You have another child. I'll stay at home until you have another child, and then I'll take sannyas." And so he took sannyas when he was 12. And we find that all the acharyas in Madhva's line, all the heads of their mutts, they all take sannyas from somewhere between the age of 7 and usually around 12, maybe the latest 15. Throughout the 800 years of history, they have had one main leader, and that leader is discovered. kind of like you find the Buddhist with the lamas and the tukus. And so the current, I think the current leader, he should be around 95 years old, and he took sannyas when he was 7 years old. And so like this, they're that leader, he spoke very beautifully about Srila Prabhupada. He actually he he was glorifying Srila Prabhupada, and he was saying that in his glorification, he was talking about Krishna. He says, Krishna is the opposite of gravity. When you everything you throw up comes down. But with Krishna, when you go down, you become humble. He brings you up. This is the sweet glorification. Okay. So, on. So yeah, he had left for the school of Achyuta Preksha. Achyuta Preksha. He had this. He had a premonition. His teacher had a premonition. This is going to be a special disciple, and he was given the name AnandaTirtha, that place where Ananda bliss resides. And actually, Madhva has the same exact meaning. These are names are synonymous. Mud means like it can mean sweet. It means also bliss and va. These two names have um, uh, actually the first name was Purna Pragya. This was the name that he was given at initiation, and in the beginning, right in the beginning of the schooling of his sannyas, there was they were speaking about Ishta Siddhi. And he began to argue, and the guru was very impressed with his arguments. He was this young child. He was very fond of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. We still use his commentary. He wrote another commentary on Mahabharat that's very pertinent. I think it is called Madhvacharya Nirnaya. How to understand Tatparya Nirnaya, how to understand the intention of the Mahabharat. He described that the Mahabharata had been interpolated, that there are verses that have been added. This is something that you'll hear from Hirdananda Maharaj, who's done great scholastic work on the Mahabharata. And so if you look at Mahabharata, it's very different from the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you go to South copies of the Bhagavatam in the south, copies of the Bhagavatam in the north, copies of the Bhagavatam in the east, copies of the Bhagavatam in the west, copies of the Bhagavatam in Bengali, copies of the Bhagavatam written in different scripts. They're all exactly the same. Maybe one syllable is off every 5 pages, and then there's no difference in context or meaning or anything. But in Mahabharata, you have 82 different versions in 18 different languages. It lacks this consistency. And so Madhvacharya, he was bringing this out, and he presented his Tatparya Nirnaya, which is explaining what is the actual intention. What are the intentions that have been covered over due to time? And so Krishna describes this in Bhagavad Gita, that kalo nashta parantapa, time has this degrading effect. Of course, Bhagavad Gita, which is out of the Mahabharata, is another story. Bhagavad Gita, basically, you've had thousands and thousands of people in India today and in the past who had the entire Bhagavad Gita memorized. And so if there is any difference in a syllable, it immediately becomes evident. So let's see. Sometimes he would quote from not just many sources that nobody had heard in that land. And they would ask him, how do you know this? What is this sastra? He said, I know from past life. And he would speak authentically on the things that they understood, but also he would speak on verses that they never even heard before. And so, there's one time he debated these Buddhist scholars, one named Vadisingha, And you could see these scholars, these debates, they were so powerful and intelligent. So this Vadi Singha, he countered Madhva's arguments from 18 different angles. He went against him. And Madhva then refuted all of Vadi Singha's refutation to the point that he was completely speechless. And then there was another personality named Buddhi Sagara, and he also was defeated. And so they said, okay, let's have a recess, and tomorrow we'll go and debate. And then they snuck out in the middle of the night and they ran from that town. Um, so this is very much, there are actually 8 jewels or gifts that Lord Chaitanya accepted from the 4 sampradayas. And so there's 2 things that are very much valued that are taken from Madhvacharya, just like there are 2 things taken from Ramanuja, 2 things taken from Nimbarka, and 2 things taken from Vishnu Swami. This is from the Rudra Sampradaya and the Kumara Sampradaya. So Madhvacharya, the 2 things that we take is that the deity of Krishna is Krishna and should be honored and loved and worshipped. And we should we should refute the philosophy of God as an illusion, Mayavada. That's like he said, he's an incarnation of Bhima, Hanuman. Also Vayu. Why is Vayu the god of strength? Because it is from your breath that you get all strength. And this is you take away breath, you take away the life air, you have no strength. And so he had original views, original arguments. He didn't even use the arguments of Ramanuja, which if you look at Jiva Goswami's writings, most of his arguments are from the line of Ramanuja. And so he would travel and he would debate, and many sincere people became disciples. Um, there was a lot of controversy. They're saying, okay, you're speaking all this stuff we've never heard before. If you're going to speak like this, you need to make your own bhashya. This is how you establish your philosophy in ancient India, is that you would have a commentary on Vedanta. So you need to establish your position by presenting a bhashya, a commentary on Vedanta or Brahma Sutra that can be analyzed. So this is the Mimamsaka tradition where you analyze things through the lens of Vedanta. And so he decided to take a pilgrimage. He went all the way up to the Himalayas to visit where there's one of the Chiranjivas. Chiranjivis are personalities who remain in this world for at least the next Manvantar. So these are personalities who remain in this world for thousands and thousands of years. And so one of them is Veda Vyas. Another one, I believe, is Hanuman. We have some names here. Another one is who's another Chiranjeevi? Ashvatthama, Vibhishan. Actually, very surprising to learn. You'll find later in the Bhagavatam, you'll find in the commentaries also. The Ashvatthama, such the antagonist personality, becomes one of the 7 sages. He actually becomes a great sage over time. But we see he was very antagonistic. He was the one who killed the sons of the Pandavas. He's, in their sleep. So he went all the way up to first went to the kind of base camp, then he went up further and he met Veda Vyas and was given commentary. He presented his commentary, which was received with great happiness from Veda Vyas. And then he came back down and had that dictated by his disciple Satyatirtha, and then he sent copies to Udupi and to his guru Achyuta Preksha. And then he returned to India by the east. He went from Bihar and Bengal, and many, many followers came along the way. Um, there's a coming through, there's a Godavari region. He defeated a great scholar named Shobana Bhatta, and he became his leading disciple, Padmanabha-tirtha. This may be the one who is mentioned in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. There is Krishna, Brahma, Vyasa, Madhva, and there's a Padmanabha that is right below that. It was in Kalinga. There was a Swami Sastri, a prominent government minister. He also became a disciple named AnandaTirtha. And so he would take his disciples to bathe in the sea near Udupi. This is a, he would often take these trips to bathe in the sea. And he was writing, he went there, he wanted to compose some beautiful prayers, some stotra to glorify the Lord. And it was about 12 different verses. So he was working on the 5th verse, and he had this intuition that Krishna is going to appear. And across the sea, he saw that there was a boat that was stuck in a sandbar, and the people were waving on the boat. They were calling, they were waving, asking for help. They were stuck. They were asking for somebody to be sent to see if there was some way they could be freed from the sandbar. Now, he is the incarnation of Vayu, the god of wind. So he took his chadar. When mystical gale force released the boat from the sandbar, and the owner of the boat came to shore, and he said, "Thank you, you saved us. I have everything on this boat is now yours. Please take it." And he said, I don't need anything." He said, "Well, look, I have this chandan, this gopi chandan. I have this chandan, and you're a Vaishnava, you could take that." Now, everybody on the boat, the entire team that was on the boat, they could not lift this. This was used as the ballast. It's something to balance the boat from the back and the front. It's a very heavy, almost like a stone. It's a lump of hardened clay, very, very large. And all of Madhvacharya's disciples, they also couldn't lift this thing. And so Madhvacharya came, and with his one arm, he held on to it. And he went to a temple, and he placed it down, and then it cracked open. And inside the Chandan was a beautiful deity of Krishna. He had I think butter in one hand. He had the churning rods of his mother in the other hand. And we actually understand that this deity directly came from Krishna himself. This deity was in Dwarka, the residents of Dwarka. They're fond of Krishna, but they also very interested in his Vrindavan pastimes. Like, oh, we want to hear, we want to see your form, Krishna. Um, can you turn yourself into baby Krishna, sweet baby Krishna, please? And he's like, no, yeah, I don't. I'm a little shy, and besides, if I show you this form, then it will, I don't know, you won't be able to stay in dark anymore. It's. He said, I can do this just for just for a short moment. And so then he was running around as little sweet Krishna, the the churning rods of his mothers. He was performing these pastimes, and then he turned that form into a deity. And so this deity was worshipped by Rukmini. And then they had the pastime of Krishna is winding up his pastimes, and Dwarka is going away. The queens are being escorted to leave by Arjuna, and they were robbed by They're attacked by dacoits, cowherd men. This is because of the pastime Shakti leaving Arjuna. Even Arjuna could not protect them, and so this deity was stuck into a kund, gopi kund, to be protected. And that's where, thousands of years later, where this stone of Chandan was taken from. There's another second pilgrimage that he did. He went to take his disciples, and there was a river which was illegal to cross because there was a Muslim ruler, Muslim king on one side, a Hindu king on the other side, and they did not like each other. And so the rule was, if you cross this river, you will be killed. No questions. If you cross this river. But Madhvacharya, he's Bhima, he is Vayu, he is Hanuman. He, hand in hand, he took his disciples across the river, and then came the soldiers who accosted him. And he spoke very beautifully with them that they became completely pacified. They were there ready to kill him. And he also boldly asked to see the king. And speaking with the king was so moved by his saintliness and the saintliness of his disciples, the sincerity, the purity of Madhvacharya. This is the mystical personality. That he said, I'll give you half my kingdom. And Madhvacharya said, no, I don't need anything. And another time he was attacked on this travel. He was attacked by, there was an attempted attack by a gang of robbers, but every time they would come close, but Madhvacharya's mystic ability, his disciples appeared like stone boulders, and they were like, are we gonna attack rocks? Or they're confused. They couldn't figure out what they were seeing. It was like they would see people, then they would see stones, and then they would see people, and then they would see stones. And so Madhvacharya, he did his pilgrimage. He also back to see Vyasadeva and received blessings for his Mahabharata commentary. He wrote extensively. Out of all the four acharyas, he wrote most extensively. He wrote 37 works. And I believe this is around the age of 80, he was giving class on the Aitareya Upanishad, and flowers began to shower from above. And so much flowers started to shower from above. And then once the flowers were gone, he was gone. This was the disappearance Leela of Madhvacharya. He was not even seen. He disappeared from the spot. And so I said there are 5 differences that he fivefold differences in the Dvaita. This is his symbol, the Dvaita, the peace symbol. This is duality symbol. The soul, Jiva Beda, Ishvara Jiva Beda. There's difference between the soul and God. That's a fact. Ishvara Jada Beta, difference between God and matter. Jiva Jada Beta, difference between the soul and matter. Jiva Jiva Beta, difference between one soul and the other soul. And Jada Jada Beta, between one material object and another material object. This is the philosophy. And so we have a great work of Madhvacharya called Mayavada Shatadusani, also called the Tattva Muktavali. English translation, one translation is the 100 refutations of Mayavad philosophy, and Tattva Muktavali means the pearl necklace of truths. And so one of the things that he presents, which you'll find also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is the question of interpretation. And so, for example, this is from text 20. There are 3 reasons to reject a word's primary meaning and accept a secondary meaning instead. So in Sanskrit, you know, you have words that are there's mukyavad. Let me see, mukya. I have this in my notes somewhere. Mukya, mukya. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, you can read about. I believe and this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 87, text 1 and 2. Yeah, this is in the purport of. So different ways to understand the word. Mukhya vritti, lakshana vritti, gona vritti. So mukhya vritti, you have two categories. You have rudhi and yoga. Rudhi is like just a conventional way of using, and yoga is the kind of the etymological, using the etymological rules. Um, so, for example, go means a cow. That's an example of rudhi. That's just the conventional way. The second meaning of mukhya vritti is yoga vritti, which is the kind of how you combine syllables together. So pachaka. Pachak means to cook, and ka means to do. So a person who cooks. So cook and doing is a person who cooks, a chef. So that's one of the meaning. And another one is lakshana vritti. Lakshana is so lakshana is a secondary which that can be justifiably presumed. So one example is Gangayam Goshaha. Gangayam Goshaha means, in a literal sense, means a village on the Ganges, a village in the Ganges, literally. And because the literal meaning doesn't make sense, then you have to look at the lakshana, another way that those words can be understood. And so lakshana means the primary meaning is not abandoned. It still must relate to the primary meaning, but we have to see how grammatically, how those words are understood in a different way. And so Ganga and Goshaha means a village along the banks of the Ganges. It doesn't mean that the Ganga is the mind and the village is the heart and how the emotions move from the mind to the heart or this or that. It has to still relate to the literal meaning. And Gonavritti, that's another type of lakshana, which is kind of like when you have analogies or something that has this similarity. So like Simho Devadatta. Devadatta is a lion, means Devadatta, this king, is very heroic. It doesn't mean he is a lion now. And so these are, so back to Madhvacharya's book, he says there are three reasons why rejecting a primary meaning and taking a secondary meaning. If the primary meaning makes no sense. Two, or if tradition or common usage supplants the primary meanings with generally accepted secondary meanings. There are things we say in English so that um, you know we there are ways that we say things that are meaningful in their secondary meaning, not in the way they literally are. And three, if an authorized commentary explains a secondary meaning should be understood. And so the way Shankaracharya skirts the philosophy of personalism is by using secondary meanings of words when the primary meanings are very clear. When they when the um, when it's talking about God as a person and the words are very straightforward and clear, then it is a dishonest method to then take secondary meanings to skirt the presentation of the primary meaning. You only take the secondary meaning if it doesn't make any sense, like the village in the Ganges, um, or he gives many different examples. But I want to make sure that people in the Bhakti Center could share. We only have a few minutes. We have Adi Purusha Prabhu. Please share something. Hare Krishna.
We're just completely astounded by the details of this plant.
It's very quiet.
Yeah, a little louder, Adipusha Prabhu, or closer to the device.
Astounded by the details of this class. You're amazing. You're reading from something. How did you know all this stuff? Can you hear me okay? No.
It's very, very quiet.
Very low. Oh. He was asking if you were reading from somewhere, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu.
I've taken notes from most of my notes are from Mukundadat Prabhu's lecture on YouTube. There's I think a Rompad Swami. I haven't even started that one. That's Rompad Swami gives like a 5 lecture series on Madhvacharya. I mean, there's another one by Amarendra Prabhu. But Madhva Vijaya says that's basically the biography of Madhvacharya, that everything is from there. We do have an ISKCON, a book. Here it is. This is the life of Madhvacharya. This was written, I believe, by Purna Pragya, and it was mainly written for like middle school students. So it's like not a super hard book. It's complementary to this is a very wonderful one, Sri Ramanujacharya. So it's an easy and fun read. There's also a wonderful movie about Madhvacharya. ISKCON used to have its own kind of TV production where they would and part of it was bootlegging Indian films and giving subtitles to them, called ITV, ISKCON TV, and they would have the film of Madhvacharya. And that one's really good. There's a lot. They actually, a lot of the movie I think is in Sanskrit as well, but it comes with subtitles. But it's really beautiful. He used to like jump from one temple to another, like miles or so, and play with the deities. That was one part. I was watching the movie long years ago, and it took like the third time to figure out all these kids that he's playing with that are coming out of the temples. He would run into the temple, and then he would run out. The 2 kids would run out of the temple, and then I wasn't getting it, but it was actually the movie was illustrating. It's an old movie that he would be playing with the deities. He would go out and play with the deities.
So the deities were running around?
Yeah, with him. Yeah.
That is fine. Adipusha Prabhu looks satisfied that you provided the pramana, the source of the narration. Thank you, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. Adipusha Prabhu, back to you.
Yeah, fantastic. What can we say? I mean, my God, this is so extravagant and detailed, and plus your personal delight in presenting this is also a manifest. So we thank you very much for this superb class. Hare Krishna. Glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you very much. It's 8 o'clock, but maybe we can take one more reflection. Maybe something stuck out to you in class that you'd like to share back, please. Unmute yourself. Don't be shy. Shyness is a virtue, but not during the Q&A. During the Q&A, it's a curse. Mathuranath Prabhu, is that your bhakti creeper that you're working on?
Tulsi, yeah, Tulsi Dev. Sometimes shyness can be low self-esteem. I've got that. I had a question, but we'll have to wait till after the...
After darshan, okay? After darshan, please.
Yeah,
Darshan.
let's do it.
Is there another? We have to go with it. It's over here. Look. Here. Oh my goodness! Look at Krishna. You'll have to sing. Tamaham Jami Enum Pandarpam Aravinda Devayatam Bharhavatam Sam Asitam Purasundaranam Pandar Prabodhipamniya Vijayatobam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Gacchami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Gacchami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Gacchami.
Jai Arjuna Prabhu.
Yeah, Sheila. Yeah, Lotus feet of spiritual us. In the way of taking service. About feet. Grace was the most ocean of suffering and tameness of Krishna. While we each other consciousness spirit mind, by the way of unity of the snow. Statues and sunseas, reflections of the whole world. He opens my darkened eyes, my heart turns to the mind. He is my Lord, birth of the earth. From him ecstatic frame emanates, by him ignorance is fled. Mysteries of sin and ecstatic. Our spiritual necessity, fellowship and mercy, friend of the poor, God has its faith. Oh, lasting and merciful us. Shade of our feet. Thanks for all of the worlds. Shelter of the lotus feet. Joy.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Nityananda Chandra Prabhu, do you have a few minutes to stay over time with us? Thank you. Madhurnath Prabhu, please ask your question. You said something about self-esteem. Did I get that right? Madhurnath Prabhu, you're muted.
I'm unmuted now. I hope I am.
We can hear you.
Yes, I've been muted most of my life. I haven't spoke my heart. Now it's time to get out of the box. I was making a comment where you're saying don't be shy. Shyness is a virtue. So, but I was also saying a lot of times shyness can be low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And in the mask of a virtue. Anyways, that's not my question. Nityananda Chandra, you were making a point in your class that Krishna lifts one up when they're humble. And you said something else around that point. There was 2 points around that. What was the other point? Was it a negative with it as well, like Krishna?
Oh, no, that was the Acharya of the Madhva line. He was glorifying Srila Prabhupada and very beautifully, and then he was speaking about Krishna, and he was saying Krishna is the opposite of gravity. He says gravity, you go up, it brings you down, and so Krishna is the opposite. You go down, and he brings you up. If you become humble, then he pulls you up. You get closer.
Right.
And
So the opposite, if you're proud, he pushes you down.
well, the pride just keeps you away.
It keeps you away. Yeah.
There's a German saying, Dummheit und Stolz wachsen half dem selben Holz, in the German shloka, which is pride and stupidity grow on the same tree.
Yeah.
To a tree that has lots of fruit becomes very humble, and a tree that has no fruit stands tall and proud.
Yeah, I think a lot of time when I'm proud, it's like Krishna's putting me in timeout. I'm like, you can go stay over there. You can't really come near me right now. And but I was reflecting on the point of humility, then lifts us up. Krishna lifts us up through that humility. And Mahatma Prabhu, in his humility course, he talks about one of the ways to understand humility is to actually be acknowledging where I'm at, to not try to be somebody I'm not, try not to be something I'm not right now. Actually, authentically acknowledging where I'm at. And so many of the problems in our spiritual life is coming from trying to be something I'm not. Like myself, I've done that so much. I always reflect like to be unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service, such a high thing, such a very high platform. And I went through 3 years of actually trying to do that, sleeping very little. I had like kind of a nervous breakdown at one point where I cried for 2 days. So yeah, if you have any thoughts or comments.
Absolutely. So we have this statement, Shanai Shanai Uparamid, step by step. Now, step by step doesn't just mean like slowly or gradually. It means that each step, the weight is fully, when I step with my right foot and put my right foot down, the weight is fully on that foot. And until I have fully put my weight on that foot, then I can start to put weight on the next foot, meaning that I'm fully honoring the position that I'm in. And then I can move on to what would be a little bit further. But it's not like I have my heel and then I'm jumping with my toes on, I'm just putting my heel down on my left foot and I'm trying to put my toes of my right foot down. No, I have to fully understand where that foot is. And so, this is a part of understanding our adhikar for particular practices, understanding our qualification for particular types of renunciation, like where we may jump into something that we're not ready for, because it sounds more like it's better for us and we'll be deeper. It's like, no, actually, I need to be where I'm at and try to grow from where I'm at, not try to that verse that's spoken twice in the Bhagavad Gita, not to there's two verses that are spoken twice. One is man man bhava man bhakto, and then there's the other one is not to do the duty of another. So understand where we're at and do the process the process of progress from that is meant for where we're at.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. Any further questions?
We have some. I can read a little bit from Madhvacharya's Mayavada Shatadushani.
The refutations, the 11 refutations.
100 refutations. I wouldn't read them all.
Okay, read the most profound ones so we can refute. If we run into Mayavadi on the street, so we can quickly refute and move on.
Okay, so accustomed to speak, this is verse 9. This is accustomed to speak in metaphors. Poets say this youthful Brahmana is a blazing fire. This beautiful face is a disk full of the full moon. These breasts are Mount Meru. These hands are blossoming twigs. The charm of these metaphors lies in considering two things which are actually different, to be completely equal because they have one common feature. The poetic author of the Vedas had used this device in the phrase Brahmaham Asmi. The spiritual living entities have emanated from the supreme Brahman, but they're not equal to him in all respects. 10. Innumerable waves splash within the great ocean. In the same way, countless spirit souls exist with the supreme Brahman. A single wave can never become the ocean. O individual soul, how do you think you will become the supreme Brahman? Verse 11. Everywhere in the Vedic scriptures are pairs of opposites are described: spiritual enlightenment and spiritual darkness, religion and irreligion, knowledge and ignorance are all described as different. The Vedic scriptures also describe the supreme Brahman and the living individual spirit soul as different in the same way. O saintly audience, how can anyone with an honest heart claim that the individual soul and the supreme Brahman are identical in all respects? There are many. There a lot of it is like the rules of interpretation, like we mentioned about the that it's a dishonest policy to avoid clear meanings and then try to use the secondary uses of the words, which by rule is only done when the primary use of the words doesn't make sense. So there are many things like that.
Thank you, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. My good wife Chinmay Radha was listening to the refutations and she immediately started using them against me. She said, how can you think that you are the Supreme Brahman? She's refuting my laziness and false ego. Thank you, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu, for enabling her. Jai. Thank you. Okay, we need a reciter of the Maha Mantra to complete the offering. We'd like to request Laura Wright to unmute herself and recite the Maha Mantra to complete the offering. Laura, please.
Na Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you very much, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. Thanks all the devotees on this call and outside too. Thank you for lifting and inspiring association. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.